All right, so we are on. Hello, everybody. This is the first of a series of videos that we're doing. The series is called Insurance in Florida. And basically, the objective is to bring experts on different types of insurance in Florida. We're talking about homeowners and life insurance and Medicare and commercial liability, different topics. But this is the first one, and we decided to bring a friend of mine that I consider an expert on property insurance. And the reason why we decided to start with this topic is because it is the topic of the moment. Right now, homeowners in Florida are getting huge increases in their annual renewal policies, and we just want to understand that what's happening and how we can help the consumers, deal with that, and how can they get the best rates in the market. So for that, like I said, I do have Garrett Mitchell. Garrett Mitchell is a director of sales and marketing of Insurance Express in West Palm Beach, Florida. Garrett has been, or he has developed multiple insurtech platforms to power homeowners and flood insurance sales across 48 states. He is also both director and partner at Rocket Flood and also New Build Insurance Group. So, Garrett, good morning. Thanks for accepting my invitation. And this will be quick. I just want to make sure that we talk about your favorite subject, home insurance.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for having me. And I think it's really great what you're doing because education for the consumer, it really is going to help them, especially with what's ahead for homeowners insurance. So glad to be here.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again. Well, how about if we start just talking about the state of the market in Florida right now? As I said earlier, we're having, as a homeowner, I personally got a huge increase recently on my homeowner's insurance. And in talking to different neighbors and different people, of course, different clients. I mean, we're experiencing that a lot these days. So what's going on in the market, Garrett?
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, as you said, it's no surprise that the homeowner market right now is really in a state of crisis in terms of the Florida infrastructure for homeowners insurance. And it basically boils down to a lot of factors that have been happening over the last really 5 years that are making it extremely difficult for homeowners insurance companies to operate in this state and to like achieve profitability. And so the majority of the marketplace is now going on its third consecutive year of unprofitable results where overall they're losing money. And due to that, all the companies are just doing what they have to do to stay in business and to maintain financial stability. And as a result of that, we're in a very hard market. Whereas you can see premiums are going up drastically, and the availability of homeowners insurance, the options that are out there for a consumer are a lot less than they were 5 years ago. And when you put all those things together, it just makes it difficult to secure competitive policies and to keep your premiums reasonable. So that's kind of what's going on.
So at one point, like you said, we had a very good um, a very good amount of years that we didn't have any hurricanes, and many companies were being created in the state of Florida. So at one point we had, how many companies was maybe at its peak that we had in the market?
Yeah, I think there were over 40. I mean, if you look at the filings, there's a lot more, but when you boil it down to companies that are actually doing business, not just filed to do business, it was at one point, yeah, I mean, 35 to 40 companies that were available throughout the state. And now that number is a lot lower. But I think if we want to talk about kind of some of these changes that happened and kind of how did we get here type of a thing. There was a really good run between, I think it was 2006, there was like almost a 10-year run of no significant storms hitting Florida.
Right.
And we had a great streak with that. And during that time, there was issues going on with the stock market and things like that. And there was a lot of money coming from the market and they were identifying insurance and reinsurance as this profitable and attractive place to put capital in reinsurance. And so during those years, the reinsurance, the availability of reinsurance and the pricing on reinsurance, because there was so much of this kind of private money that was flowing into the market, reinsurance costs were much lower. And as there was kind of this simultaneous changes that were happening, where there was a more active storm history over the last few years, combined with the increase in fraud and third-party, claims, unethical claims on the parts of, contractors and roofers and water remediation companies that are kind of doing bad, unethical practices. When you combine the storm activity and the increase in claims on that with some of this third-party influenced claims, the losses started adding up, and the insurance market for reinsurance didn't look as profitable or as attractive to these investors and these hedge funds and stuff. And so they started pulling the capital out, putting it back into the stock market, and that caused reinsurance rates to go up. And at the same time, you're dealing with just this increase in third-party claims from roofers and water remediation companies. So all that kind of happening at the same time has just put a lot of pressure on insurance providers in Florida, making it very difficult for them to maintain kind of profitability. So when that happens, they all kind of pull way back in defense mode to kind of assess, reassess, and make changes. And a lot of companies have pulled way back because they've realized, due to all these things, very difficult for them right now to maintain a profitable business model. And when all those companies pull back and we're left with just drastically fewer options than a few years ago, then it's just difficult, and the premiums are much higher.
That's a great overview of the industry and how we ended up, in the current situation. So the main problem is, as agents, we live this every day, and we have, we see the increases that we get for our clients. We have to, of course, present that to our clients, and we have to just, shop the case with more carriers and see who they're willing to, who's willing to take the case and all that. So, we suffer as insurance agents, of course, as it makes our job a lot harder and difficult to present those kind of increases to our clients. So that's one thing. But the bottom line is the consumer. The consumer is the one that ends up, paying a lot more for their insurance. And then, like you said, it's just a perfect storm. Then on top of that, you get all these new people from the Northeast coming down and buying houses, and sometimes they come from different areas and they get hit with huge, they get price shock. So as a consumer, what can you do? As agents, we know what to do, and we always do it, and we always try to find the best option for the client. But if you're a consumer and if you're seeing this video, like, what would you recommend to a homeowner to do in order to secure the best coverage at the best price?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So it really, an informed consumer is going to do a lot better. And so just things like this, and ways that we can educate and give consumers information, is going to set them up for more success in general. And so the first thing is, Florida is very unique. And so especially if somebody's relocating from another state, they're not going to be familiar with the nuances of our state, right? And so some things that are very unique to Florida, there are different inspections that are required to secure insurance in Florida at a competitive rate that simply don't exist in the rest of the country. And so a lot of times the first thing is starting the process right away, okay? So reaching out to your agent or asking for a referral if you're moving here from your realtor or your mortgage broker on somebody that they recommend that you can work with, and then beginning that process with them right away. Reaching out, making a connection, and asking them, okay, what are my steps? And what the steps really are is, A, beginning the process as soon as possible, understanding what inspections you may need to secure in order to get a competitive policy, and then immediately scheduling those inspections as soon as possible. And so the two inspections that we're referencing here, the first one is called a wind mitigation. And this inspection gives you discounts on a policy for how the home was constructed to withstand a windstorm or a hurricane event. And there's about roughly 10 categories on there. So it's not pass or fail. Each of these categories gives you different discounts that apply to the policy. So it looks at the roof material, the roof geometry, how the roof is secured to the house. It looks at the other features, and then another big one is opening protection. So we'll look at what protective devices does the home have in terms of hurricane shutters, impact windows, things of that nature. And all together, those will provide significant discounts on the homeowner's policy. So it's very important that you get that. And then the second inspection is a 4-point inspection, and that reviews the 4 major systems of the home, being the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, and the electrical. And they're really looking at the age of each system, the quality or the condition of each system, and then kind of the manufacturers or the materials used. And both of these inspections, once they're obtained, it is very beneficial to kind of review the results of these inspections with your agent, because a good agent is going to be able to make recommendations based on the inspections on things you may be able to do or improve on the inspection that could save you significantly on the policy. And a lot of times what we see is there may be one small thing that is holding them back from qualifying for a discount or qualifying from for a specific insurance company in general. And you may look at, okay, the best price that they qualify for based on the results of that inspection could be $3,000. But if maybe there's one small issue on the electrical that costs maybe $200 to $300 to remediate, that will qualify them for a policy for, $1,800. And so if they simply just invest in fixing that one small electrical issue, now they qualify for a much better company. So securing the inspections and then reviewing the inspections with an agent that could give them the right recommendations on how they should address.
Absolutely. So the first thing is have updated inspection reports, the 2 that you mentioned, right? And then the second thing, which is super important, is to work with a knowledgeable agent that knows what they're doing and also that has access to the markets, because especially nowadays, not many companies are available. So it is important that you have access to those companies that will be able to give you a good offer on the home insurance, right?
100%. So yeah, I mean, once you secure the inspections and you reviewed it with a knowledgeable agent, which is so important, you want to also vet the agent out, make sure that yes, they're able to shop you with multiple companies. Mm-hmm. They're not just going to be quoting you with Citizens and that's it. So you can ask some qualifying questions. How many homeowner insurance companies do you represent? How many will you be shopping? To really see if this is a product that they're strong.
You brought up a great point. So right now, in your case, in your company, when you get the inspections, for a case, then you shop it with all the different companies that you have. So right now, let's say you send it out to, 10, 15 companies that you have. Now you mentioned Citizens, and a lot of people, nowadays are being offered a quote from Citizens. So can you just, real quick, who's Citizens and who qualifies to be insured with Citizens, and if that's a good idea or not to go with them?
Sure. So Citizens is the state-backed insurance provider, and it's basically a government program. It's not run like a private insurance company. It's run like a kind of a state program, and the design and the intention of Citizens is to be an insurance company of last resort. So if somebody cannot secure coverage in the standard market, then they have an option with Citizens. So consumers aren't just out to dry with not a single option for insuring their property. And so in the past, they really weren't that prevalent within my agency because we had a lot of options for the consumer. However, due to everything we've been discussing on this call and so many companies pulling back and tightening their guidelines, accepting less and less houses, we're seeing just dramatically more and more properties going into Citizens just as a result of there not being any options available. And so when would a property, qualify for Citizens? There's a couple of scenarios that can qualify you for a policy with Citizens. The first being that coverage was simply not available for your home in the private market. And that's going to happen due to the property location, maybe the age of the home. It's not updated to the standards of a private company. And so you've run it in the private market and you're saying, company not available, nothing's available. At that point, you would go into Citizens and you'd be eligible for a quote there. The other requirement, which I believe was just adjusted, is if quotes within the private marketplace are 25% more expensive, higher premium than the offered Citizens rate.
Yeah, it was 15 and now it's being updated to 20%.
Got it. So 20%. So yeah, those are the two main ways that you would qualify into Citizens. I mean, thank goodness that we do have them, because otherwise, there wouldn't be any options right now. So it is, viable.
So if someone has that only option, I mean, they have good insurance. It's not like they're bad insurance. They just use as last resort. But if that's the option, they're going to have good insurance and their house is going to be well protected, and then it's going to meet the requirements of a lender if that's the case, right?
Absolutely. So that's a big part that you just brought up, is meeting the mortgage requirements from your lender, meeting the insurance requirements. And so yes, the policy with Citizens will satisfy all of that. And yeah, at the end of the day, they're a government program. So concerns about, solvency and not being able to pay claims is not really an issue. And you may not get the red carpet treatment and the white glove service, but your claim is going to get covered and your property is going to be protected, which is the most important thing at the end of the day.
Okay, excellent. All right. This has been very informative. So just to wrap it up, I guess, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Have you seen any improvements recently, or is this going to get worse? What do you think? What have you heard?
So, we're really hoping for some help in the legislature, and there are some steps that are being taken. There was a law or something that was passed about solicitation, which we're hoping is going to help on the fraudulent roof side.
Right.
But it's really tough to say. Unfortunately, there's talk that it could get a little worse before it gets better, but it can't get much worse, because they're going to have to step in to make some changes that are needed for the insurance companies to operate here. And so it will definitely come around. Everything in insurance is cyclical, but until then, just, really reach out and work with your agent and really ask the questions on what you can do, and work as a team with them to make sure that you're in the best position until everything gets a little bit easier.
Absolutely, agree 100%. So I hope this was informative for the consumers, for the people that are going to watch the video. Thanks again for willing to spend some minutes with us. That's our intent, is to bring all that information to them so that they're ready. And by the time they get the renewal, or they want to shop for new policy, they do have the right documents in place. So thanks again, Garrett, and we'll be in touch.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks. Take care.